Holly Mae is signing again today. Thank you, ma'am. Chaplain Norris Darden, Colonel. Prayer, please, sir.
Let's bow. We come today thanking you, God, for your faithfulness, for loving us, and for allowing us to trust you, even through times as difficult as these. We pray today that we will heed your word, that you love us, and you said, cast all of our cares upon you, because you care for us. Even as we pray for those in the Bahamas, God, we know that you're able to turn a storm. You're able to say to that storm, peace, be still. We give you glory now. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. John Quirello, please.
Thank you, Governor. We're already seeing periods of heavy rain and gusty winds along the coast, and conditions will deteriorate through tonight as Hurricane Dorian approaches. Dorian remains a Category 2 hurricane with winds of 105 miles per hour as it lifts northward off the east coast of Florida. The center of Dorian will pass very close to the South Carolina coast Thursday into Thursday night and is expected to remain a dangerous hurricane. It would only take a slight change in the track to bring the eye of Dorian onshore along the coast. Hurricane conditions are expected along the coast, with peak wind gusts possibly exceeding 90 miles per hour along the beaches of Charleston, Georgetown, and Myrtle Beach. Tropical storm winds could occur west into parts of the Midlands. This will result in downed trees and power lines and possibly some structural damage as well. Of even greater concern is the potential for life-threatening storm surge. Salt water could rise as much as 4 to 8 feet above normally dry ground across locations along the coast and farther inland along tidal waterways. This surge will enter structures and make roads impassable. The storm surge will be most significant around the times of high tide tonight and Thursday afternoon along the southern and central portions of the coast, and Thursday afternoon into early Friday morning along the northern part of the coast. Heavy rainfall of 6 to 12 inches with locally higher amounts will likely produce flash flooding in low-lying areas east of I-95. Do not attempt to drive through flooded roadways. As conditions deteriorate, please do not venture outdoors. All threats from this storm should be taken seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Well, we thought it was coming, and here it is. This hurricane parked for about a day and a half down in the Bahamas, and it's getting here a little weaker than it could have, but it's gotten here. So it's now a Category 2 hurricane, as John Quirello said. Category 2 is 96 to 109 miles an hour, and right now it has sustained winds of 105 miles an hour. So that's a lot of wind, and you can see from the forecast there, the red area around Charleston, Hilton Head, right along the coast there, those are hurricane, anything over 74 miles an hour is considered hurricane winds. So the fact that the eye of the hurricane, the center of the hurricane, is not inland doesn't mean much, because right off the edge of the center is where we're going to be, unless something changes. Now it could change and come more to the west, inland, which would be even worse, or it could turn and go out to sea, which we're hoping it'll do. But we've been hoping that the whole time, and it hadn't happened yet. So we have to be prepared. Again, if it shifts to the east, that would be great. But right now, we expect it to hit Beaufort, down around Hilton Head in Beaufort County, at about 6 to 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, something like that, give or take, unless it changes. And then it'll just work its way on up the coast through Charleston, Georgetown, Myrtle Beach, and on into North Carolina. So our message today is, if you are still in an evacuation zone, you still have time to get out, but time to get out is running out, because once the wind speeds get up to about 40 or 45 miles an hour, the emergency crews will not be able to come in and get you. They will be pulling out today. We're already starting to reverse the lanes back to where they were before, because we have to get all that equipment, the cones and barricades out in order to be safe. In fact, I-26, we had that reversed, as you know, going from Charleston to Columbia, had the whole highway open for Columbia bound and beyond bound traffic, westbound, and we decided to keep that open based on conditions and based on the high traffic flow. We decided earlier today to leave that open, not to close that at noon, but to leave it open till 2 o'clock, and there were a lot of people taking advantage of that. But that's now being closed, and no one can get on that other side to come to Columbia now. But the regular side, the westbound side towards Columbia, of course, is wide open, and there'll be officers there. All the regular equipment will be there. The officers on the other highways leading away from the coast, and we urge everybody to drive safely. And if you have not left, you still have time, but time is running out. Right now, Charleston is experiencing flooding brought on by king tides. The winds are bad. As we mentioned, you see what's expected as of right now. That's the best forecast we have, but the water we know is going to be worse. It is the water that kills people. It is the water that is the real danger, and it is clear that we are going to have a lot of water. Hurricane Dorian's storm surge will begin to be felt along the coast this afternoon, and it will be pushing the water inland into the marshes and the rivers, and at the same time the rain is calculated to be 10 to 15 inches in this period here will be falling and trying to get out, going into the rivers and coming out. So you're going to have a collision of water right there along our coast, which is going to make that storm surge even higher. And again, more people die in hurricanes from water than they do from wind or anything else. So again, we urge everyone, if you are in the evacuation zone, it's not too late, but it's getting too late, and you need to go ahead and leave. Now, if you choose not to leave, and we know there are always some people that do, we'd like to mention again that we do not know what the water is going to be like. So this may be a record, it may not be. Again, the hurricane may turn and go out to sea, which is what we hope. But there's going to be a lot of water. So if you do choose to stay, and of course when you have winds that high, there are things flying around in the air, that can be very dangerous as well. But if you do choose to stay here, a few simple things we ask you to do. Tell your loved ones or next of kin where you plan to be, where you plan to be isolated for some time. And get up as high as you can in whatever structure that is, assuming it's a stable structure, and also protect your pets, because you won't be able to run out and go get them. Have them with you, have them in a safe place. Stay indoors, don't go outside, and stay away from windows and glass doors. Chances are they'll be broken, if not by the surge, by some flying debris of some kind. Take refuge, if you can, in a small interior room, a closet, a hallway, something that does not have windows, because windows are liable to shatter and glass is very dangerous. Keep the interior doors closed and secure, and brace the external doors. Close the curtains, close the blinds, and again, get inside. Secure the important personal documents, wills, papers, deeds, things that deeds are generally recorded at the courthouse, but people have a lot of important papers that very difficult, insurance papers, things like that. Be sure you have those with you. Have them in a waterproof bag or place where they will not be destroyed. And don't go outside. Even if there is a lull in the wind, don't go outside, because it could be the eye of the hurricane passing over you, and that if it passes over, that means the other end of the hurricane's coming in just a few minutes. Be prepared to go without electricity for a good while. If you have a generator, keep it outside. Don't put it inside with you. Point the exhaust away from the house if you have it turned on. People get killed from that. Also, use flashlights and batteries. Don't use candles, or you liable to catch something on fire. And plan to be stuck there for a while. As I say, it will be dangerous for the emergency personnel to come in after the wind gets up to about 45 miles an hour until it goes down Once the hurricane and the winds pass, they won't be able to come back in. And whatever you do, don't attempt to swim or wade through standing water. You don't know what's in it. You don't know what's floating in it. You don't know what's under it. And don't drive in it, of course, because the road might be gone, and we've had tragedies like that. Finally, on school and state government closings, we're continuing just like we've been doing for Tuesday and today. Tomorrow, the schools and state government offices will remain closed, those that have been closed. That is tomorrow, September the 5th, in the following counties. And they are, again, these are the same ones as before: Jasper, Beaufort, Colleton, Charleston, Berkeley, Dorchester, Georgetown, and Horry. And they will stay closed. Those are state government offices, and the schools will stay closed until further notice. And some of the county offices are closing as well. And if we make any changes in that tomorrow, we'll be sure to let you know. Now, General McCarty, National Guard.
Thank you, Governor.
Yes,
The soldiers and airmen of the South Carolina National Guard are continuing to prepare for this storm. We have approximately 1,600 on duty at this time. Many of those are continuing to support the Department of Transportation and the Department of Public Safety in the evacuation and supporting SLED and law enforcement missions. They will continue to do so until it's deemed necessary for them to go to their appointed shelters where they will ride out the storm. Just like to, again, reiterate what the governor said. Take this time now if you haven't left the affected area, if that opportunity is there for you to do so, or prepare yourself. There will become a time here before too terribly long that the conditions will not allow first responders to go back in to make those kind of rescues. So take the time to do so. In preparation for the storm, we have moved in 90 what we call high water vehicles to help evacuation. After the storm has passed through, those will be spread evenly up the entire coastline, and we will be able to reposition them as necessary to respond to the needs. We've also moved in debris removal teams to help open up the areas to get our first responders in as quickly as we can. We've got aircraft that will be available to support the helicopter aquatic rescue teams. We've got 7 UH-60 Black Hawk helicopters. 4 of those are HART capable. They will be partnered with the State Fire Marshal's Office to help provide that aquatic rescue if those situations are necessary. We've got 2 UH-72 Lakota helicopters. One of those is also HART capable. And then we have 4 CH-47 Chinooks. Those are heavy lift that we can take in supplies or move out individuals as necessary. We were also looking now to prepare for the reentry process. We're looking to determine what additional assets may be necessary. We have significant assets still in the South Carolina Guard that can be called up, and we've been working with our neighboring states to prepare EMACs if those are necessary, and we will work with our federal partners to bring in active duty forces if that's deemed necessary also. So we'll be prepared for whatever the next phase of the operation brings us. Thank you, sir.
thank you, General. Secretary Christy Hall, Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Governor. So we continue to develop and move forward with our traffic management plans with our partners with DPS, National Guard, and local law enforcement. We also continue today moving forward and pre-positioning DOT crews and other crews in order to provide a rapid response and accelerated recovery on the after the storm passes through. As the governor mentioned, our evacuation routes continue to function well all across the state. The I-26 reversal, as he mentioned, was extended an additional 2 hours until 2 p.m., which is when we began to remove that reversal on I-26. And that 2 p.m. extension was due based upon the fact that beginning at 9 o'clock this morning, we once again began to see an increase in traffic moving westbound on I-26, including the reverse lanes. And by 11 o'clock this morning, we had volumes leaving the Charleston region that would have exceeded capacity of the traditional I-26 westbound. And those volumes continued for the next 2 hours and finally started to drop at around 1 p.m., which gave us reassurance that we could leave it open until 2 and then begin the process of removing it. As the governor mentioned, we did start the removal process at 2 p.m. and the general process for that is to stop access to the reverse side at the I-526 interchange at 2 p.m. and then we will, in cooperation with patrol, work our way up the interstate in a similar fashion as we instituted it, from the Charleston area up all the way back to Columbia, to restore the reverted side back to normal operations. We expect that to take about 3 to 4 hours. So our anticipated time for completion of that operation will be about 6 p.m. tonight. Since that reversal was put into place on I-26, we were able to accommodate approximately, or actually greater than 81,000 vehicles heading westbound on I-26 on both sides, and that includes 16,000 vehicles that traveled on the reverse side alone, heading westbound out of the area. Our estimated evacuees on all coastal zones is approximately 360,000 people. That's through 8 a.m. this morning, 43% of which we estimate to come from the Charleston region, 34% evacuating from the Myrtle Beach region, and about 23% from the Beaufort Hilton Head Island area. Just to follow up on something we mentioned yesterday, as the storm comes in and the tropical storm force winds and the hurricane force winds come our way, just be mindful, if you're out and about traveling, that our high-level bridges in the coastal region, once winds become 35 miles per hour sustained winds, we will advise high-profile vehicles, so trucks, not to travel over those bridges or to use caution. Once those winds become 45 miles per hour sustained, then we will advise against traveling on those structures due to safety considerations. And finally, as the governor mentioned, please do not drive around any barricades, especially in this particular region. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Director Smith, Department of Public Safety.
Thank you, Governor. As the Secretary mentioned earlier, at 2 o'clock, all entry points to the reverse side of I-26 were closed. So if motorists were already on the reverse side of I-26 from the Charleston area, they can continue to travel to the Columbia area. And as stated earlier, this will allow us to begin the process of returning the eastbound lanes of I-26 back to their normal traffic flow. This process, again, will take about 3 to 4 hours. And at that time, the eastbound lanes of I-26 will resume. We are also making preparations to assist SLED and ESF 13 regarding any law enforcement and security missions for a post-storm response. We are also working and making preparations to assist DOT with any road closures or diversion routes as a result of any flooding, and this again will be a post-storm response. And I would like to end on the phrase "turn around, don't drown" cannot be more important than now. We heard the governor mention earlier about standing water. Please do not drive through standing water, because as the governor said, we don't know what's under the standing water. It could be down power lines, it could be tree branches, debris, and it could be that the roadway is washed out. So please do not drive in standing water. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Chief Keel, SLED.
Good afternoon. As yesterday, we have 525 state law enforcement and South Carolina National Guard MPs that are in the 3 conglomerates from Beaufort to Horry County. As those lane reversals are ending, as you've heard today, those officers have already began patrols in those evacuated areas. We will continue to beef up those forces in those areas, as Director Smith said, with additional highway patrolmen and officers from Department of Public Safety. As I've said each day, we will not tolerate any lawlessness in these areas. It is important that people can leave their homes, evacuate for their personal safety, and return to their homes in the same condition that they left them, hopefully. And so I just want to remind everyone that those individuals out there who may feel like they want to try and take advantage of this situation, again, we will be on the lookout for you. State and local law enforcement will arrest you, and you will go to jail. Thank you.
Director Toomey, Department of Health, Environmental Control.
Thank you, Governor. We remain in contact with the 174 healthcare facilities that were impacted by the mandatory medical evacuation order. Our EMS team has been assisting these facilities in safely evacuating their patients and residents ahead of the storm. Our dam safety team completed pre-storm dam assessments yesterday. No issues were observed. We conducted assessments of drinking water plants and intakes and wastewater plants within potential flood inundation areas. We also contacted the 84 community drinking water systems and 76 wastewater treatment facilities located along the coast. At this time, there are no concerns with preparedness or operational status of any of those facilities. Yesterday, we closed the summer shellfish harvesting along the coast. 9 companies, harvesters, had permits during that period of time. This is a minimum 21-day closure. Our Caroline 1-855-4SC DHEC or 1-855-472-3432 is open to answer questions from our patients and women, infant, and children clients. Governor, thank you.
Thank you. Michael Leach, Department of Social Services.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. Following DSS mission to provide for the safety and well-being of children, youth, and vulnerable adults, DSS teams have been working around the clock to contact every licensed foster home, group home, child care centers, and individuals in adult protective services in the evacuation zones to ensure our vulnerable populations are not in harm's way. We want to thank the dedicated DSS staff, Red Cross volunteers, and other volunteer organizations currently engaged in all mission-critical aspects of sheltering in the affected areas. South Carolina currently has 22 shelters open across the state. 18 are general population shelters and 4 medical needs shelters. Of these shelters, 16 are utilizing school buildings. As of 1:30, we have a total population of 1,175 in our shelters. This number includes 1,147 general population clients and 28 medical needs clients. South Carolina currently has 31 shelters on standby across the state. 12 are general population shelters and 19 are medical needs shelters, many open this afternoon. Our current total capacity is 12,849, and we are at 9% of that capacity. The Red Cross and National Guard are actively working to transport cots to shelters now. We are tracking these efforts. We are in constant communication with shelter staff about their continuing needs for cots and working to facilitate distribution. We recommend evacuees bring blankets, sleeping bags, and pillows, medications, and any special foods if you are on a restricted diet. We have partners supplying food and water at all operating shelters. Shelter information can be found at scemd.org. You may also contact the Public Information Phone System line at 866-246-0133. Shelter staff are available to assist with coordinating accommodations and support for persons with functional and access needs via our partnership with Able SC. Some shelters are pet friendly, specifically in counties in Colleton, Berkeley, Dorchester, and Charleston, but staff at all shelters will be prepared to assist evacuees in identifying local resources to care for pets. Because DSS county offices located in the evacuation zones are closed, we ask the patience of our citizens who experience longer wait times when calling about benefits. DSS Early Care and Education activated their emergency hotline over the weekend for child care facilities to report damage, report closures, and request to expand capacity to care for children from facilities affected by the evacuation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Emily Farr, Department of Labor Licensing and Regulation.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
So for those who have decided not to evacuate or those who are unable to evacuate, as this storm moves in, if you find yourself in need of assistance, please call 911. State Fire continues to work with the search and rescue partners to ensure that we have urban search and rescue and swift water boat rescue teams ready to serve however and wherever we may need to as this storm passes through South Carolina. As General McCarty mentioned, we have SC Heart teams, those are helicopter aquatic rescue teams available. We have urban search and rescue with swift water rescue capability staged in Manning for quick deployment out to the coastal communities. We already have swift water rescue teams in North Charleston, City of Charleston, Somerville, and Horry County. The South Carolina State Guard also has a swift water rescue team with wide area search capabilities that is in Mullins at the Armory. We have also requested assistance from FEMA for urban search and rescue and swift water rescue teams that'll help and really enhance our capabilities in being able to respond to any water rescue or search and rescue needs that we may have. But as the governor stated at the beginning, we urge everyone now is the time to leave so that you won't need our services once the storm comes through. Just to switch gears for a moment, of a message from the Office of State Fire Marshal that the governor also mentioned about generators. Every time we have an extended period of time of power outages, we unfortunately tend to have fatalities due to carbon monoxide poisoning. So just to emphasize that point, if you do use a generator, please make sure to use them outside, away from doors and windows. Do not use the generators in your garage, an attached garage, even if you're leaving the garage door open. And if you need to refuel your generator, make sure to turn it off. Make sure it is completely cooled down before you do so. We do have more details about safe generator use and other important hurricane-related information on the agency's website. That is llr.sc.gov. llr.sc.gov. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Kim Stinson, Emergency Management Division. Okay.
Thank you, sir. The priorities here at the State Emergency Operations Center are going to be shifting a little bit. We're still currently supporting evacuation and shelter operations, and obviously going to maintain sheltering operations for the near term. But we're moving also to initial response with an emphasis in 3 areas. One is communications. As this storm unfolds, we're going to have to be able to be in communications with the local authorities so we know what their needs are. The second is the transportation, is once we know what their needs are, we're going to have an ability to get into the impacted area. So that's very critical. And then I don't think it comes as any surprise, the energy restoration piece of it. We rely on energy pretty much in everything we do, so getting that up and running is certainly a top priority. At the same time, we'll continue planning for re-entry and the longer-term recovery. In terms of some of the county information, right now there's 21 counties that are some level of operation, 10 counties at Operation Condition 2 and 11 at 1. Their primary focus is very similar to us right now, still finishing up the evacuation piece, sheltering operations, and then planning for that initial response over the next 24 hours. As a part of that, many counties have already pre-positioned boat teams and high water vehicles in areas where they think that they're going to need them. And right now there are 9 county governments that are either closed or we're going to have early dismissals today, and that there's 10 counties with schools that are closed or with early dismissals today as well. We continue to get logistics requests. We've got right now about 300 requests, and we've completed or in progress about 2/3 of those, and then the remainder are being actioned. And they range from anywhere from generators to ambulances. We do expect to get some additional requests for food and water distribution as this operation unfolds. I already mentioned some of the assistance that we're getting from out of state. We still have 2 teams here, one from Tennessee EMAC to help us with any follow-on requests, and then also State Fire as well as the additional helicopter support. And we'll be requesting an additional incident support team to help manage any future water and food distribution issues. And already mentioned is that we're in the process of requesting a federal urban search and rescue team to assist with not just search and rescue, but also water rescue. Again, remind everybody to please use our website at scemd.org to stay connected and get the latest information, and also our mobile app. The Know Your Zone module we have on both of them, they've had about 600,000 visits here in the last couple of days, so that's fairly significant there. And our state hotline, the PIPS, the Public Information Phone System, remains active. If you have any questions, you can call that number at 1-866-246-0133, and we'll have Spanish interpreters available. And so far, they've answered about 3,600 inquiries to date right now. And just wanted to reiterate some of what the governor has already said. If you choose to stay in an evacuation zone, some of the things you should consider. Certainly tell loved ones or next of kin where you are. Stay indoors and away from windows or glass doors. Take refuge in a small interior room, closet, or hallway. And close all interior doors and secure and brace external doors. And keep curtains and blinds closed. Certainly very important to secure your important and personal documents and put those in some kind of plastic container or Ziploc bag as long as it's watertight. Certainly don't go outside if there's a lull. As the eye of the hurricane goes over, you're going to have, the storm will pick up again, and so it's important to stay inside and stay safe. Certainly be prepared to go without electricity for an extended period of time. And again, as the governor said, be prepared for short-term isolation where no one's going to be able to get to you. Certainly conserve your food and battery use. Stay away from those down power lines. They're extremely dangerous, and certainly do not attempt to swim or wade through high-standing water. You may not see what's below. Sir, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Governor McMaster,
Yes, sir.
when it comes to first responders, you talk about putting them in danger, of course, people not wanting to put them in danger if they stay. Is there like a cutoff in terms of like wind speed where they typically would stop patrolling?
It all depends, but wind speed, when it gets to be around 45, sir? Tropical storm winds, and that's 39 miles an hour. Yes.
Can we get an update on evacuees, number of people we think have left the coast?
Yes. So as from the start of the evacuation through 8 a.m. this morning, we are estimating approximately 360,000 people have evacuated, and that number is broken down to approximately 43% of that 360,000 is attributed to the Charleston region, 34% to the Myrtle Beach region, and 23% to the Beaufort Hilton Head Island region.
Do we still think 10 to 15% of those are tourists?
Correct.
Or-
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
More questions?
You mentioned
Yes.
FEMA being requested. At what exact point would they step in to help out?
Well, we've already requested funds to be made available for what we know is coming.
Basically, we've got FEMA is here. We have our federal coordinating officer here. We're coordinating with them right now on various issues. They've already agreed, I think, to provide that urban search and rescue team that was ordered today. So they're available. They've got commodities stored at Northfield, food, water, cots. So they're there and available. And so it's just a matter of us when we think that we need to have them step in to assist us.
In terms of evacuees,
Here's some more on that. Come forward.
Yeah, FEMA's been strategically placing personnel, commodities, resources across the area of operation from Florida all the way to Virginia. We have a lot of resources and commodities here in South Carolina. We have 91 FEMA personnel working here in the EOC and the interim operating facility, and over 600 federal and non-federal resources working in the state right now. So we are in support of the state. When they request FEMA assistance, we'll be ready to provide that. I'm Alan Jarvis. I'm Federal Coordinating Officer for this disaster. Thank you.
in terms of evacuees, how does that compare to previous years? Is there any concern that we're getting evacuee fatigue, essentially?
Let me take that, Governor. So the numbers are very comparable to previous, the last time we had the evacuation last year. Very, very similar numbers with regards to the total number at this point in the evacuation order.
I've seen people tweet in response to the end of the lane reversal, does this mean that they can travel to Charleston? Obviously, that's not what you guys want motorists to do, even though that's been lifted.
Correct. We're still under an evacuation order, so obviously we don't want people traveling into the area of concern into the storm. And as Director Smith mentioned, at about 6 p.m. tonight is when we expect the eastbound direction to be restored, ready to receive traffic. However, we still advise against travel at this point in time.
That would open it up for emergency vehicles to the extent that they can get there and the conditions are not too dangerous for them to do that.
Governor,
Yes.
the latest numbers of evacuees, do you feel like that's enough people?
We want everyone to leave. There's some that can't leave or don't want to leave for various reasons. We urge people to be safe, rather be safe than sorry. The rates, they fluctuate. This is about, as Secretary Hall said, about the same as it was last year. People are still leaving right now, but all we can do is give the facts and tell what we believe is coming at the time, and it changes, as you know, from hour to hour. But there's no doubt about it, we're going to experience hurricane winds, at least in gusts. If the hurricane turns a little bit inward, it'll be worse. If it turns outward, it'll be better. We're hoping it turns outward, but we're praying it'll turn outward, but it looks like it's going to be upon us. So we urge everyone, and remember, it's not just the wind, it's the water. And if you're in that coastal area, that water can be treacherous, even worse than the wind.
Secretary Hall, I know at this point you talk about the crews being in place if you need to kind of set some things up. Is there any thought at this point just that there may need to be some sort of an aqua barrier system or is it just still monitoring the situation?
At this point in time, we don't see an area that we would need to deploy a device like that. Again, it's a different situation we're dealing with this storm. It's not floodwaters coming downstream in a river. It's basically storm surge coming up from the coast, and devices like that do not operate and function well under that type of condition. So, as the governor mentioned, we're hopeful that the storm either stays far enough away to minimize the storm surge impacts, or as it comes through, that storm surge comes in and gets out quickly. And then, of course, our goal at the DOT is to pre-position ourselves so that as soon as it is safe for us to do so, we will immediately get into those areas with our partners with National Guard, local fire departments, DPS, and others to make sure the roads are cleared of any downed trees, make any temporary emergency repairs we need to in order to maintain access or restore access. So we feel very comfortable that we've got enough crews pre-positioned and ready to move in for an immediate response and recovery.
I've gotten a specific question on the Ravenel Bridge. What's the status of that?
The Ravenel is open. The Ravenel will remain open until the winds become 45 miles per hour or greater sustained, and then that will be a decision made on the ground with our local law enforcement partners. The bridge is safe, even with the projected wind forecast that John Q mentioned earlier. We feel very comfortable that bridge is designed to sustain well more than those types of winds, so we have no concerns over the Ravenel. We do have concerns about people still out and about traveling under these conditions, and so our concern is more for the people, not necessarily any concerns about the integrity of that bridge, because we have confidence in that structure.
Further questions? Thank you very much.